the first step would be for everybody to care about other people and not about themselves only.
People should respect each other, not dependent with the color, the gender.
We must avoid all this confrontation, you know.
The fact that we're all humans is what unites us.
But I think you start to think of yourself more as a person from the planet.
The task of the media is to help society find a common language and communicate.
I think friendship and being nice to each other can unite everyone.
I want to live in a society where the people are very conscious, so they make conscious decisions.
Work for the sake of society, for the sake of love, for the sake of connection.
I see that all people want two things: love and respect.
A compassionate society, a society that understands that your needs are validated.
What unites us is being in relationship with each other.
It's about humanizing the human society.
Everybody has to be informed in a proper way.
Let's support each other. Let's help each other, no matter what another person may have.
In the creative society, human life will be of highest value, and the best human qualities will prevail.
About the creative society where everyone feels safe and lives a fulfilled life. Now, we also ask our guests questions that are of value to viewers. Yes, you. Now, my name is Dr. Bob Schote, and I'm co-hosting this live broadcast with Elena.
I'm very happy to introduce our guest, Nita Patel, bestseller, keynote speaker, artist, and coach. Welcome, dear Nita. Could you please tell our viewers a little bit more about yourself and share with us what inspires and drives you in life?
Yes, thank you so much for having me. Hi, everyone. A little bit about me. I have a multicultural, multilingual background. I was born and partially raised in the UK, moved to the States. My parents are of Indian descent, but they were born in Africa. My dad was raised in England. My mom was raised in India. And then at some point we moved to the States. So, it's a small world. It's always been a small world for me, having that cultural mix kind of throughout my childhood. And as an adult, I love traveling, probably because of that. And so, I think that the power of being connected and learning about each other has just been really, really important to me. I have a background in psychology. My undergrad was in clinical psychology, and I'm actually pursuing my master's right now in IO psychology, industrial organizational psychology. So I just, love learning about people, love understanding why we do what we do. And I have spent a little over 2 decades in the corporate world. I have been an artist kind of all along. I think everyone's an artist, but sometimes we make a choice to do something very specific. And I did that in kind of my time of where I needed a creative outlet, and that led to me showing my artwork in museums and galleries around the world. So that's been a lot of fun, just being able to be left-brained in the corporate world, but right-brained in being able to express your creative outlet. And then most recently, I made a transition, and I do performance executive coaching. I speak, and I published my first book last year called Boss Vibes: Self-Esteem, Success, and the Art of Etiquette. And again, it goes back to how I was raised, the different cultures that I grew up in. And I felt that it was important to share with the world why we do certain things. I call it modern manners, but why it's important. And I think in the old sense, people thought of etiquette as doing things for society. But my spin on it is you really do it for yourself because it boosts your self-esteem, it elevates your confidence, and you gain respect for yourself, and therefore other people respect you.
Yeah, a question I want to ask you, and if you can offer any tips, especially based on your unique perspective uh, between the connections, not only the national connections between you and your parents, but also the various cultures that you've been connected to. And it's interesting because now you're living in the Texas area, which is a much different environment than in the UK, and a much different environment than where your parents came from. If you can offer tips on what you learned and how people can learn to be able to uh, better connect with others with this unique way, including connecting with themselves, but also connecting with others who are different than themselves and have that understanding. What would you advise?
Sure. I would say at a very young age, because I did travel a lot, and I experienced, some of that, especially as a kid. Kids are mean, they're brutally honest, so they don't hold back. And what I learned is not only to fit in, but to your point, connect. And I think that's the important piece is in order to connect, being authentic with someone is what allows that and what allows people to understand each other. For me, there was a language barrier between British English and American English. And when I was in the States, I would get told that you can't speak English, and I would get really upset. I'm like, no, you can't speak English. I speak English, you speak American. There's a difference. But what I learned from that was adapting, and understanding it's the same language. We spell things differently. I might have gotten a bad grade in English because I spelled according to British English. But really understanding where people come from. And I think just coming to terms with that's what allows connectedness. And that's what helped me as a kid integrate better. And I think that, as an adult, just traveling the world, when you go to another country, respecting their culture, instead of comparing it to wherever you come from, learning about them, I think that's what allowed that authenticity is what allows the connectedness.
Nita, we are talking about modern society, and the format that we are living now is consumer, and I think that everyone already is kind of fed up with what we have, and maybe you would like to share what is important for you in creative society. What are the key moments for you to have in your everyday life in order you and your friends and your close ones are happy? What could it be?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's something that I am currently speaking about a lot, just sharing the message of authenticity, because in the modern world, we are so caught up in the concept of success that we've forgotten what success really means. And we think that success means, a fancy title and a nice car and a bigger house and then another bigger house and more cars and, all the fashion. And we think that keeping up with all of that and comparing ourselves to everyone on social media, what does that person have? Oh, I need to go get that. I think instead of doing that, really taking a step back and understanding, who am I? Why am I here? What is it that is going to make me happy? Because 9 times out of 10, you can have all of those things, and you can probably talk to people who have all of those things, and they still feel like something's missing within. So I think it's that inner journey of looking within and saying, what was I meant to do? What's my gift to the world? And a great example, which I think also falls in alignment with the creative society values, is expressing your creativity. When you're allowed to authentically express your creativity, you don't have that layer of needs of covering yourself up with wanting something, you know, that materialistic, I think, lens of I need this, I need that, because you're fulfilled from the inside as you're expressing yourself creatively. And so that's a great example of if you can find your authentic self and understand what your purpose truly is, then that's your happiness, you know, and no one can take that away from you.
Yeah, absolutely. That was actually excellent expression of what Socrates once said, know thyself. And let me ask you this, because you mentioned the world and all of us being able to find that. In your opinion, what is the foundational uh, unity that brings everybody, regardless of where they came from, regardless of their culture, their race, their uh, their self-identity, all that, regardless of all that, what is that one common ground that unites everybody?
You know, I think this sounds cliche because everyone says it, but I think, again, it's love, connectedness, and respect. When someone feels disrespected, that's when the hate starts. That's when people kind of turn against each other. When you don't feel heard, which again, everything translates to a very basic emotion, right? And so when you don't feel heard, you're not loved. You know, when you're not connecting with your family, your friends, your bosses, you know, your coworkers, whoever it might be, you don't have that connection. So then you have a kind of a lack. And so I think foundationally, love, respect, connectedness, that is really what is the beginning of having that unity. And it, again, you know, everything starts with me. Everything starts with yourself, and really understanding how am I showing up? Because if everyone who does have that level of consciousness, if all of those people are showing up with love and compassion, that is the first step to bringing and allowing that unity.
Amen.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I think that each person that is listening to these words feels that indeed we are so already united by this desire, strong desire to live in happiness and joy. And I believe that our life is created for, as you said, you know, everyone is an artist in some way, and what a great idea to show this beauty to the world. And you know, people, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know, we are all programmed with beliefs as children, and from a societal standpoint, I think we were all programmed that that with the phrase "starving artist," and so any parent who has a child who shows an artistic expression, you know, that was always shut down, and probably still is today, even though there are much broader professions that people can step into and make a great living. You know, it's that creativity piece is still shut down because that belief is if you're an artist, then you're going to starve. You're not going to be able to provide for your family. You're not going to be able to have a good living. And it's really the opposite.
Yes, yes, that's well said, because there's been, in fact, a gentleman named George Land back in the 60s, he actually came out with a test to test creativity. And in that test, he tested 5-year-olds. So initially, it was NASA wanted to find out about their people in terms of creativity. But what he did, he tested 5-year-olds, and 95% of 5-year-olds were creative. And then it dropped down dramatically by the time they got to 9 years old. And by the time they reached adulthood, only 5% of adults are creative. And I think it's even worse now than what he did back in the 60s. And as you said, it's something that society has really tamped down, when we actually need more of that creativity, of that creative mindset in today's world. And I noticed in your bio that you're also an artist. And how does like your expression of art, because we also have another artist too here with her artwork that we just some of us saw earlier, but how does art play into what you do in terms of your own expression from your inside?
I would say it is a creative outlet. You know, some people, for me, it began at a place in my life where I had all these built up emotions and I wasn't able to express them verbally. You know, when you're going through a tough time in your life, you kind of go through these emotional stages and you don't know who to trust, you don't know who to talk to, but you have all these built up emotions. And so for me, it was a release, you know, to be able to express myself through paint. I didn't have to say a word to anyone. I would just turn on some music and paint. And so, you know, I think it's different for everyone and it's evolved over time. You know, I think now I can be in a very happy place and I just have a need to express. And if I don't do it, then I'm not able to do my other work, which is kind of interesting. You know, I tell people that another, I think, myth is you only are left-brained or right-brained. That's something that we were taught growing up. You know, are you left-brained or right-brained? You know, we have all these psychology tests around that. And we have both sides of the brain. So why would we only be left-brained or right-brained? And so I think that for anyone who thinks they're left-brained and you're watching this, you know, I really challenge you and encourage you to be creative, to, you know, try anything that you've always wanted to, because it's really balancing both sides of our brain. It's balancing the extrovert with the introvert. You know, I think that's the same thing. You're either an extrovert or you're an introvert, and that's not true. Again, it's based on the setting, based on the time of day, based on what's happening in our life. You could be either. And so the art piece is a balance to the left brain work. And I think it really goes hand in hand. If you're a creative and you don't express yourself, you're going to struggle with your left brain tasks. So I think it's really knowing that you need to express yourself in some way, whether it's singing or writing or, you know, painting or sculpting, whatever. I mean, art comes in so many forms, digital art today. I mean, you know, there are no limits to how creativity is displayed. So I highly encourage everyone to explore their creative side.
You know, Nita, I was listening to you and an idea came to my mind. It's like creative people create creative societies. So the more we show, the more we let our beauty go outside, the more we develop it, the better are our deeds, isn't it? And it has inspirational impact on others. And you know, like we are doing right now, talking to each other. Volunteers of Allatra TV asked 1,000 people from all over the world the same question, like how you envision creative society, what is important for you. And after analyzing all these answers, were designed 8 foundations of creative society. This is something common for everyone. And I asked technical support to show us this small video, and then we discuss.
This Creative Society project was born by the initiative of the people themselves. After we carried out many social surveys, interviews, conferences, and well, we talked to many people really all over the world. These 8 foundations of the Creative Society is the result of the desire, the demand of the people themselves, because they talk about it. They tell us how they want to live, where, in what world, in what kind of society they want to live, what values are the most important for them. And after analyzing everything, we understand that yes, there are these 8 foundations that now we can share with everybody. It is a complex of values of each person in this world.
So Nita, do you have any suggestions or ideas about these 8 foundations?
You know, 2 things come to mind. Certainly the creative aspect, which I will get to in just a second. But I would say, you know, one thing to get to this place is helping others and teaching others about elevated consciousness, you know, and I know that that word is used a lot today, but the more we expand our consciousness, you know, the more we come from a place of love, the more we come from a place of truly enlightenment, I think that's when you break all the barriers, because everything else doesn't matter. You know, what you said at the beginning of the show, the racism and, you know, all the divide that's occurred in the world over the last, well, thousands of years, you know, all of that goes away when everyone sees themselves as a divine being, and then, you know, and then they treat others that way. And so that expanded level of consciousness eliminates all the barriers, and we talk to each other out of love and compassion. You know, we respect ourselves and we respect each other. I think kind of like this conversation, you know, that's a cascading effect for anyone who listens to it, anyone who thinks that this is something that should be applied to their life. That case cascades onto their family, their friends, you know, and it's a domino effect. So I would say that teaching people how to be mindful, teaching people more about awareness, you know, those are kind of the fundamental pieces that can be a foundation to the creative society values.
Yeah.
Thank you for your answer. I totally support you.
Yes, I fully agree, and very powerful. We used to, like, if you go back, oh gosh, about 200 and some odd years ago, actually from the late 17th century into the early 19th century, we had a thing called the Age of Enlightenment. And from what you just said, we actually need a second age of enlightenment, probably even at a higher level than we had back then. The United States was actually built on the foundation during the Age of Enlightenment, and it seems like a lot of areas of the world have regressed. So we need to actually now expand. And I like what you said, the expanded consciousness aspect of that, and really becoming truly enlightened in that way. Based on the 8 foundations, and then and piggybacking what you said regarding the Enlightenment, what is it about that can actually help all of us, every single being, and again, in your opinion, to truly unite, and being able to see the perspectives of each other?
You know, I would say, going back to our conversation, the creativity piece of the conversation that we had earlier, when people know that they don't have to pick sides, you know, we're talking about all the external resources, but you're taking a look within yourself. You know, you're just making a decision that I'm only right-brained or I'm only left-brained. Not only are we making choices of division externally, but we're doing that within ourselves as well. And so I think finding unity within and allowing everyone to be creative, to express themselves creatively. I think there's a little bit of a taboo in society around creativity, because we think that someone that's creative is maybe borderline crazy, you know, they don't know they don't have a sense of reality. And I think eliminating those taboos by encouraging and inspiring people to be more creative. You know, an Excel spreadsheet never inspired anyone. It's a part of life, and it has to happen. You know, we have to have experts who are able to do that. But those same people also have a voice. And so if you encourage them to speak their truth and hear them out, you know, and let them know that it's okay for them to do that, I think that's the beginning to accepting the creativity. When people are creative, I think you'll notice that a lot of people, a lot of speakers, a lot of artists, especially in the music space, or even actors, actresses, when they're kind of doing their art, they get into this zone. They're in flow. You know, there's so many different words to kind of describe that space, but they're in this place where it's almost like their conscious mind is shut down, and they're speaking from their soul, whether they're creating music or painting or writing. And so when you're allowed to be that way, and when you're allowed to express your creativity that way, I think that brings authenticity out, and it's accepted. And when you're accepted for who you are, we no longer have to hide and, you know, keep buying things to make ourselves feel better. We no longer have to keep doing all of those things. I think that's the beginning, that's where the borders are eliminated and we appreciate each other for who we are. The competition piece goes away because now it's okay to do this. You know, I think right now and in the past, it hasn't been okay. And now there's more and more conversation about it's okay. And that's all people want. You know, at the end of the day, our inner child, that's all we want. We want to know that it's okay to be me. And if it's okay for me to be me, then I'm not going to have any conflict within, which means externally, I'm not going to have any conflict.
Thank you so much for your answer. And I'm sitting here and observing what's going on. And for me, this is something very special and very beautiful that people started finally just talk to each other and ask questions, so important questions actually, in what world you want to live, in what society you want to live, what is important about you and for you. And for me is like, you know, this beauty of the opportunity to meet new people from all over the world. And like I see Dr. Bob second time, and I see Nita for the first time, but I feel us to be so much united and have so much same values. And I feel like we can show this beauty to the world and create something just great. And I want to tell our viewers that the project is run by volunteers in their free from work time. And from my experience, I can tell this is something just fantastic. This is simply something, one of the best things that happens in my life, you know, to see people, to see their beauty. And if you want to join, just go to Allatra Unite's website and press the button. You see the red button, join, and you can be a guest, you can give your opinion, and you can be a host or co-host, or you can just give any suggestion. What can we do to build better tomorrow? And Nita, as you already know, we are using the rule of 6 handshakes. So we want you to suggest maybe your friend or someone you know, and you want to interview personally, or maybe you just want us to arrange this interview. Do you have someone?
Yeah, I have a few people that come to mind, so I'm happy to share that with you.
So you will tell us later. You will send us contacts, maybe.
Yes, I will send you contact names. Absolutely.
Yeah, and Dr. Bob, maybe you tell your experience. How is it to be a guest and to be a host of this interview?
Yeah,
how do you feel about it?
Yeah, both is absolutely enjoyable. And I would suggest anybody that wants to be a guest or even co-host, like this is my first time. And then I also have another day I'm doing a co-host with one of the guests that I invited on. But this is thoroughly enjoyable. I love to host because I have my own podcast and then also a Facebook Live, YouTube Live show, and yeah, and then getting to meet interesting people. I got to meet you, Elena, and then Nita. I mean, me as an older guy, and I have two beautiful women on both sides here as well. On top of that, but intelligent. So that's what I'm learning so much more from you guys than I think all my years could ever teach either one of you. So it's just been amazing. Thank you.
Anita, we do thank you for your time, and we do thank you for your beautiful answers and this inspiration that you gave us. This is just fantastic feeling that there are so many creative people in the world and we can do something together.
Thank you so much. It was my honor being here.
Maybe you would like to tell something to our viewers.
Sure. I would say my final message is, find your authenticity and don't let anyone else, judge you. Don't judge yourself and don't let anyone else judge you. Just be who you truly are and you will see miracles happen, and celebrate life every day. There's not one moment in life that you wait for to celebrate. It's something you do every day. And that's where the true happiness and joy comes in.
Beautiful message. Thank you so much. We are looking forward to see you again, and good luck in everything you do.